participant in the meeting. Presenters, we do ask all online presenters to use good conference call etiquette and mute their lines when not speaking and introduce themselves each time they speak. If you have a public comment on an agenda item or under regular public comment, if you're here with us in the courthouse, when you are ready to make public comment, please come forward. Make sure you press the button on the mic till you see the green light. If you're on Zoom, please use the raise your hand function via Zoom and you will be moved in as a panelist. We do ask that all speakers, when giving public comment, provide their name and address for the minutes and keep their public comment to 3 minutes. The county reserves the right to shut off the microphone and remove any speaker from the meeting if they are vulgar, rude, or inappropriate. A recording of this meeting will be available on our website after the meeting. We will start with our consent agenda. Would either commissioner like to pull anything from the consent agenda today? Would anyone from the public like to pull anything from the consent agenda? Okay.
Commissioner Reed, I move to approve today's consent agenda items 1.1 through 1.3.
Second.
All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We will move on to the general public comment. If you have general public comment about something not on the agenda and you are here with us in the courthouse, please come forward. If you're online, please raise your hand.
Hi, my name is Angela Murray, and I live at 2215 North 500 Road in Eudora. We live in the southeast corner of the county, so we're in the area that is potentially going to be impacted by the West Gardner solar project that's being proposed by NextEra. In fact, our property is only about a half a mile from the edge of the property. And I want to start out by saying how much my neighbors and I appreciate the diligent work of the Planning Commission in terms of gathering information and doing research and really listening to community concerns. It's very much appreciated. But I want to speak tonight about the concerns that I have about enforcement and about being able to ensure that those regulations that the planning commissioners are working so hard to put together are actually enforced, because the regulations are only as good as the enforcement that would happen. I think these reasonable regulations are really important because we are supportive of alternative energy. We know how important that is, but we want to mitigate the negative impact that might happen in our area. I worry about stories that I hear from all around the country where you have solar developments that do not abide by the regulations that are put into place. Williamsburg, Pennsylvania talks about stormwater violations of their regulations. Ludlow, Vermont, which was a NextEra project, they had unapproved design changes. And then Mecklenburg, Virginia, their compliance issues created erosion problems and not following through on the buffering concerns that were in place. So my problem is wanting to be able to trust that the developers will abide by the rules, but I also know that these are large organizations. NextEra in particular is an organization on the same scale as Exxon. So these organizations have a lot of power and a lot of money and a lot of lobbying in place. I worry about the ethics of these organizations. For example, NextEra was recently removed from the S&P Dow Jones Clean Energy Index because they are not truly a green energy company. They actually have a high carbon to revenue print. And so my concern is who the county partners with really matters when it comes to developing green energy. And so when you talk about companies that have this kind of scale, it's really hard to make sure that the neighborhood and the residents and those of us that are in the community have a voice. And so I really appreciate being given the opportunity to speak to that. When you have an entity like NextEra that's been in the community for quite some time, that I only learned about in about the last 2 months, I worry about how good a neighbors those types of organizations would be. So trust is the bottom line, but enforcement needs to be part of that as well. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else here in the courthouse for public comment?
Green light still on. My name is John Frankie.
I live at 2222 North 600 Road, Eudora, in the Clearfield community. We purchased the 1895 Clearfield farmhouse with adjoining 5.3 acres. And then we're blessed to be able to buy an additional 100 acres attached, which consists of pasture and woodlands and creeks, including parts of Captain's Creek. 3 weeks ago at the farm tour, which we were participating in, we learned that there was a West Gardner project that was being proposed by NextEra Energy, which basically I'm calling it a power plant. To me, a farm isn't creating energy, but that's another side point. But my wife and I, we are beekeepers, and our goal when we purchased this land and the adjacent 100 acres was to convert it back to native grasslands, pollinator plants to support our bees and the other wildlife. Since we've been here a little over 2 years, I've been able to witness the beaver, muskrat, cougar, lot of wolf, basically wildlife that I haven't seen in years. And I'm really encouraged when we moved here, the county desire to, one, protect the farmlands and protect the environment. I'm a lifetime resident of Johnson County, and believe me, I think they've lost sight of that. So we have very deep concerns that this project, as it could move forward, number one, the scope, I question. I do believe in solar, believe me, I believe in solar and wind. I'd like to have some of that to support farm needs. But I think the scale that they're looking at and the concerns that I have as a corporation, they're going to be looking at profits over the community. They're going to be looking at profits over how they leave the land after 20, 30 years, or however, whenever the technology improves. Is solar going to be the long term? Maybe there's new. So everything I've been reading, I'm really worried about the number one, the economic impact on my bees, on the nature, the agritourism, because we are getting involved with that now. Pandemics kind of slowed us down and getting that accomplished. So my main concern is that we look at this long and hard. I want to thank the Planning Commission for what they've shared with us so far. And I just hope the due diligence is taken on this, because it's a very important thing. And it's something that's going to happen. We know that. It's just how and when and where it's done. So thank you.
Do we have anyone else in the courthouse for public comment?
There we go. David Alvarez. I live at 584 East 2300 Road in Eudora, Kansas 66025. I know you've probably heard a lot of comments already about NextEra. To the commission, in making your decision on what zoning regulations should be that you will put in place, please consider these points. To make these regulations for large-scale industrial solar fields, you have to understand the construction process from start to finish. I'm wondering if you've been provided any documents or looked at any documents, construction documents of other fields that have gone up in the United States. Solar industries talk about tax revenue. Have they presented any numbers to you of what this might be? What is the current tax revenue for the affected area now? Meaning, what is our tax revenue now from the people who live in this affected area? And how much will that amount go down when property values are decreased? What is the projected growth of the affected area to be in the next 10, 20, 30 years? And how much tax revenue would that be? Should it be left alone and families move in and you have that tax revenue? Families and homes will be around a lot longer than a 3,000 acre solar field, meaning, you'll have that built-in tax base for a long, long time. As the gentleman just stated, his house has been there since the late 1800s. As you well know, this would be one of the largest, if not the largest, solar field in the United States. Right now, Douglas and Johnson counties are one of the most vibrant areas of growth in Kansas and the Midwest. This large-scale project would stop that growth in that part of the county. As we heard in the video that we didn't get to hear, I'm sorry. I wrote this earlier. But the historical history of this area is not replaceable. Douglas County has talked about how rich in history this area is for as long as I can remember. And it's something that we are proud of, and I know that you are too, being part of public office. I don't believe we, the citizens of Douglas County, want to be the first to write regulations for a project this size in the United States. Let's slow down. Let's see what technology brings us in the next 5 years. Let's be smart. And if we must put something in place for now, let's scale it way down. I don't see the rush to accommodate a large project like this in this area. There may be less populated areas of the state this could be developed in. There are many other ways for us Douglas County citizens to support lowering our carbon footprint, be more green, develop a more robust recycling program, promote solar panels on existing homes, go electric with our county vehicles, etc. I'll close by saying, again, we need you to understand this project start to finish, all the way through decommissioning. Hear our concerns and be able to answer our questions when making decisions concerning these regulations. Thank you.
Hello, Bill Brandon, 450 East 2300 Road, Edgerton. Didn't really have anything overly prepared, but kind of wrote down some notes. So my wife and I bought some property about 10 years ago, and been working the land. We just started building a house about 3 years ago, and we're close to finishing. And about a month ago, we learned that we might have our property actually surrounded on all 4 sides by the solar panels. The reason I say that is because the land north of us, if the cattle farmer has to move from that, then he's talking about they went to him and they said, hey, are you interested? He might have to get his land converted to solar. So now our property will literally be 4 sides. So I'm thinking if you're going to have regulations, at least do not surround homes or neighborhoods on 4 sides. 2 would be acceptable, 1 preferable, but I just think having somebody who's lived here 10 years and invested in Douglas County should not have to be surrounded on all 4 sides. Some of these solar panels will actually be on elevated hills as well, which is in our case on our north side, which will be, you can't minimize the view, right? On these elevated hills, they're going to be seen by everybody. Plus, a lot of them go down into big ponds, some 8-9 acres. Some of these ponds connect other people's properties like ours, and we have crops and stuff like that that could be affected if herbicide is used. So, I think anything, consider not putting these on plateaus where people can see them. Flat land, is preferable. Like that should be a standard for solar panels, right? Sorry, I just jotted some notes. I think, again, I have nothing against solar. I just think regulations should be put in place that, consider the people that have been here and we dedicated our lives to Douglas County. We just bought a business in town in Gardner. And we plan on living here for the rest of our life. We were going to retire here, obviously. So we kind of think about the neighborhoods and the houses. Who would want 4 sides of their house completely surrounded by solar? That's it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Any other public comment?
So then I guess you can, yeah, you can go ahead and sit down then, I guess, but like, I don't know that we can go back and forth. Okay, so.
Never mind, that's okay. I'll just talk.
All right,
I get, I do this a lot, so it's like, I should be able to raise my hand and you should let me share my screen so I can show this, but if not, that's fine. I'll just talk. So I'm Carrie Brandt and I am Bill's wife. And like he said, we purchased 40 acres in beautiful.
Carrie, I don't want to interrupt, but it does look like you're in
Uh-huh.
on there, so.
Oh, it's
you wanna
letting
share
me,
your screen.
okay, join as panelist. And if
It-
I mute myself, I
Yeah, if
won't.
you mute, your volume has to be off.
Yeah, but it won't let me share my screen, right? Do I have permissions to do that? No, okay, don't worry about it. Let's
Okay,
move on.
just go ahead.
Okay, so it doesn't work because I'm on phone. But anyhow, basically, I had some visual aids. We had a video, we can't share it, but we'll worry about that next time. But I am going to try and talk through what I wanted to share visually this evening. And I can somehow get it to you guys at a later date. But I built a layered interactive Google map and I will share it with you guys as soon as I can and maybe written comments. What it does is it's a layered interactive map that shows within the 0 to less than 1 mile radius of the footprint of the proposed Nextera West Gardner solar project, how many houses are in it. We're not talking about houses that are around it, but this is on top of us, okay? So this is houses that are literally in the impact zone, I like to call it, less than a mile. There are 200 officially homes that are both a combination of Douglas County and Johnson County homes within that footprint of 0 to less than a mile area. I cross-referenced it in the layers that you'll see when you get the link with Zillow's estimates, because I was curious about what the total property values were that we're looking at with regards to these homeowners. And there are 122 homes on the Douglas County side, and they are valued based on estimates as of October 6th of this year at $50,298,500. On the Johnson County side, it's $29,807,710, 78 homes. Combined total, that's over $80 million worth of property, approximately. And it's actually $80,106,210, give or take. So what I want to emphasize here is, we're talking about a lot of people and a lot of investment and dreams that have been built over the course of, 10 in our case, 20, 30, 40 years in some cases. There's businesses that support these homeowners. It's a thriving community, as you know. Douglas County is a beautiful place to live. And my fear is that, we're going to really stunt the growth of our community in and around this county line road area, potentially so severely that, no new home residential growth will really want to happen around this potentially 8 square mile area of solar panel footprint. That is going to make it so that, thank you, property tax revenue long-term is not going to flourish. So I need to think about, or the county should be thinking about, what's best for the community long-term. The smaller kickbacks that you get from the energy corporations or the long-term growth potential of this beautiful place that we live in. So please protect it, protect your residents and citizens. We're counting on you. Thank you.
Jill, do we have anyone online for public comment? Okay. Thank you. We will move to our regular agenda. Oh. No worries.
Kim, you're being moved into the panel. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and provide public comment, Kim.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm Kim Lacey. I live at 2235 North 400 Road. I love this area. I've lived here for about 15 years. We're really a neighborhood. We have, the farm tour goes through here. We have a winery, we have a nursery, we have a wedding venue, we have a retreat center. We have a person that sells local meats. There are people just dotted all over this area, farmers, there's grazing cattle, there are hills, wildlife, streams. It's beautiful. It's not like a place where I imagine a huge solar project where, it's near a highway and it's flat land and people that are on the highway just have to drive by and look at it for 10 minutes. This is a whole neighborhood full of people and a community of people that know each other and appreciate this community. So I think that it's not a place to have a huge industrial solar complex. And it's also, I was also thinking about, and the county is trying to put regulations to limit all the damage that it could do, such a huge solar project. What if instead we thought about what we would want here? What would, like, best case scenario, what would the community want? If somebody's going to come in and put a solar farm, maybe we could require that they coordinate with the local farmers, local crop growers. Maybe they could, there have been all sorts of trials where they are growing raspberries under the solar panels. They make more space between the solar panels. They elevate them so that the land could be used for dual use and not just solar. Maybe, what would we like? We would like for the health of the land and the health of the community to be increased, not decreased. The tourism, agritourism to be increased. Maybe the solar company could, preferably a local solar company, could partner with the honey producers, with somebody that knows about pollinator plants. And it could be a state of the art, whatever solar goes in, it could be something that the county could be proud of, that they're doing a state of the art, something that is exploratory, that hasn't been done. They're making it beautiful. They're putting the solar panels in different patterns. They're growing native grasses. It could be something that could be on the farm tour, but it couldn't be that if it's 3,000 acres and they clear cut the land and they poison it. So I just think, we need to look at what we want, as well as how to limit all the horrible things that happen for the community, the neighbors, the land, with such a huge solar project from somebody that doesn't even live in the state.
Thank you, Kim. Your 3 minutes is up. We
Thank you.
appreciate the
Thank
comment.
you. I appreciate you looking into this.
Jill, do we have anyone else online? Okay. Thank you very much for all of the public comments. We will move on to,
So I just got a text that there are some folks that showed up at the at the Public Works building saying they tried to get into the building and the doors were locked. So.
but they were attempting to come to our meeting.
Yes, to provide public comment. So.
Are they online now or?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, can you just verify the door? I mean, I know we had public walk in, so I'm going to verify the doors are not locked.
Hey, Tanya,
Hi there.
you go ahead.
So we have two members from the public that are here at Public Works. They weren't able to get in at the courthouse and they would like to speak. So if you're okay with it, I'll just move off to the side. You guys okay with that?
Thank you, Tanya. We appreciate you being so accommodating.
Tanya, I think it's important if the folks need to keep their comments to 3 minutes and introduce themselves for the record
Okay.
and with their address.
You're good to go. Go ahead and step up.
I'm Dan Fuller. My address is 2327 North 400 Road. So all I'm here to do is to kind of make sure that the packets of information that I've sent to you all, that you take time to look at those packets. It has drilling logs from the Kansas Geological Survey Department that will show you where the water table's at, what type of soil types that are on this area where NextEra is wanting to put these solar panels. It's just imperative that you guys take time to look at all that. There is another one that was just sent to you this week on a problem in Virginia with Dominion. They had a major soil erosion on theirs, and it flooded over into farmers' grounds, and it actually washed away probably 10 to 12 inches of their topsoil coming off this project. If you look at the pictures that are on that article, and this is done by a TV station in Virginia, it shows you how they raped the land when they installed all these panels. There's no way that they can reclaim that ground with the way that they have stripped everything off of it. This is something that you guys have to take into consideration also. The bottom line is on this is the most important part of this process, is you writing the right regulations that protects the people that live around this project. And it is going to be probably one of the most important votes that you're ever going to take in your life. So I hope that you look at that information I sent to you. It's a large packet. There's a lot of information on there. It has to do with site elevations, the whole 9 yards. It's very informative. So that's all I wanted to say, that just please take the time to look at this and make an educated decision on how you're going to approach all these regulations. One other thing I did find out too is Douglas County cannot control what this company is going to use on herbicides. That's a state deal. So now I've got to go fight the state over this, because my vineyard is 400 yards from where NextEra is going to be putting part of their solar panels. So I can plan on having no vineyard in the next 3 years, because they're going to use the cheapest, most cost-effective herbicide to control the vegetation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Travis Hardy. I live at 421 East 2400th Road, Edgerton, Kansas. I just want to say, I've been dealing with this, now since August. This apparently has been going on for much longer than that. And I can tell you, you talk to the people, you talk to some of the cities, out here, they don't want this. I mean, the only hope is that we're going to get some revenue out of this, and everything I'm hearing, the reality is we probably won't get revenue out of this. We're not getting any power. Our property values are going down. I mean, this isn't going to benefit the community. We all think going green is going to, save the world. And I'm not saying going green is a bad thing, but this huge, massive complex right out in the middle of where we're all trying to live, people have spent time and money and a lot of work on these properties. This is where they live. This is their home. And all that's going to be just thrown away when this comes in. I mean, one thing to consider as well, we're talking about, setbacks, and 100, 200. Reality of it is, if anybody that lives on the country knows that that's not enough. I mean, we got to get a lot farther setback from people's properties. Any of these battery terminals, they got to be way away from people's houses, property. Because if something goes wrong, it could go wrong bad, and people could get hurt, property get destroyed. I mean, you really got to think this through. Put a lot of regs in here. You know, these facilities have cameras on them. You know, I'm just saying, if that camera is pointed at anybody's property other than theirs, I mean, to me, that's an invasion of privacy. It's something to think about. Make sure that those cameras cannot pick up any image from anybody on any, their personal property. You know, we talk about distance between different facilities. Well, what does that mean? We got Douglas, we got Johnson County. You know, to me, there should be, because there isn't state regulation on all this stuff right now, we need to say what's in Douglas County stays in Douglas County. What's in Johnson County stays in Johnson County. Can't cross the county lines. The county line, that should be seen as two separate facilities. There needs to be a 2-mile buffer or whatever the buffer is between the two. You know, I'm just asking to think about all the people out here and basically stop this from coming in. Thanks.
Tanya, do we have anyone else in your office with you?
No, that was it.
Thank you. Are we seeing any other hands raised online?
No, we are not. And I do want to state, if the gentlemen are still there, that we have checked that the building was open, and next time if they want to come to public comment, just maybe call ahead and we can verify you're headed to the right building. So the building, just call ahead and we'll make sure you get to the right spot.
Sarah, they went actually to City Hall, not to the courthouse, and the City Hall was locked up. So I think we've got it worked out now for future meetings.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Reed. Can I just add one more thing? The gentleman who commented about stuff that was sent to us, I just want to say that I personally have not received that, and I wonder if perhaps it was either sent to staff or maybe sent to the Planning Commission. But either way, Tanya could help you get that information to us.
Yeah, I'll definitely make sure that that gets to you, to all you commissioners. Yes.
And I would just add that I'm trying to collect a lot of that information and not just send it to you because we do not have an item in front of us at this time. It is still before the Planning Commission. So it's important that the Planning Commission has their opportunity to review the materials. So you can certainly send it to us, sir, and we'll make sure we get it collected with all of the information, but it will go to the commissioners in a complete packet.
Okay, it'd be nice if you guys could look at it, a week before you vote on this.
We will.
Instead of a couple of days before, because there's a lot of information.
Yep, we'll make sure they have plenty of time to review it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. We will move on to our regular agenda. We'll start with item 3.1, Public Works. Conduct a public hearing on the 5-year update of the Douglas Jefferson County's Regional Solid Waste Management Plan and reconfirm the resolution adopting the update. Sarah, do we have a presentation?
Yeah, just briefly, commissioners, I believe Chad Voigt is coming into the panel, and I kind of want to explain and provide a little bit of background for this. I think commissioners might have a bit of deja vu because we approved, and I'm trying, Chad, what was the original date on the approval?
February 17th.
So earlier this year, you had an approval of this item. We were notified by the state that we didn't get the notification right in the paper. So we have re-noticed the hearing, and which is today, and for the adoption of the plan. And that's why you have unique wording on the resolution to sort of now I'm going to look for the exact wording. Reconfirm the resolution that was approved earlier this year. So with that, Chad, I will turn it over if you have any comments you'd like to add.
Not really. I think that covers it. We are looking again for opening a public hearing officially, and if we have public comment, we would take that, and then after that, we need a motion.
Okay, so we have officially opened the public meeting for public comment on this, and we have no one here with us in the courthouse. It doesn't look like we have anyone online.
So then Commissioner, I would ask you to close the public hearing and then the commission can deliberate before the motion.
Okay, we will close the public hearing and I will bring it to commissioners for deliberations. I really appreciated the presentation that we had back in February around the solid waste plan. So I am good with reaffirming it as is, if my fellow commissioners agree.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to reconfirm approval of the attached resolution signed on February 17, 2021, adopting the 5-year update to the Douglas Jefferson County's Regional Solid Waste Management Plan.
Second.
All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you very much.
We will move on to item 3.2 from the Planning Department. Consider rezoning Z21-00242. Sarah, do we have a presentation on this?
I believe Mary Miller is joining us in the panel for the presentation. Mary?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Mary Miller, and I'm City County Planner, and I'll be sharing my screen here. This rezoning request is for approximately 22 acres at 1326 East 1900 Road from the Ag 1 Agricultural District to the RT Rural Tourism Business District. Just a little bit of history. Another rezoning application was submitted for this property earlier this year. It was requesting rezoning to the GB or General Business District. And the purpose of the rezoning is to accommodate a new building at the golf facility. They would like to have an enclosed driving area. So the tees are enclosed and they can have computers that analyze how you hit the ball. And then they would have a snack bar, a restaurant, and would also have drinks. And so that's not permitted with the golf facility CP. And so they requested rezoning to general business. The Planning Commission had concerns with rezoning 22 acres to general business at this time. And they returned it back to staff with some suggestions to look at different options. One was to do split zoning on the property to rezone where the restaurant would be to general business, but leave the rest agricultural. Another option was to do condition zoning and to limit the commercial uses. So it'd be a very limited list of uses that would be possible. And a third option they suggested was to initiate a text amendment that would permit restaurants and bars in the Ag 1 district when approved as a conditional use permit. However, the applicant withdrew the application shortly after the meeting, and so none of those options were pursued. With a rezoning request, the zoning regulations require that you wait 12 months before submitting the rezoning request back, unless there's a substantial difference. And the zoning regulations note that requesting a rezoning to a different zoning district is considered to be a substantial difference. And you can submit that at any time. And that's why this rezoning request is moving forward without having to wait the 12 months. They are requesting the rezoning to the rural tourism district. This is a more restrictive district, which would allow the uses that they want, but it would not open up the range of commercial uses that the Planning Commission was worried about. The rural tourism regulations are designed to permit maximum flexibility for the use while ensuring compatibility with nearby land uses and the rural character of the area. And with the staff report, attachment A provided the list of uses that are allowed in the rural tourism business district, and those marked with Ps are permitted as principal uses. Those marked with an A are permitted only as accessory uses. So if a use such as a restaurant snack bar is an accessory use, it would be allowed only if it was part of another project that had a permitted use, which in this case is the golf course. The property does have an approved conditional use permit for the golf course that has no expiration date. The rural tourism business district permits golf courses with site plan approval, and therefore, if the rezoning to rural tourism is approved, the conditional use permit would no longer be needed. Excuse me. This is a type of facility that's being proposed. It's the open air driving range. There's a snack bar, or restaurant. It would be a pretty small scale snack bar restaurant, just due to the fact that they don't have public water. And so the health department is working with them to ensure that they can use the water that they have on site. They have certain restrictions and they have testing requirements. And the health department has approved what they've done so far. So that would be a provision of the site plan, is working with the health department to ensure that the capacity and the intensity matches what the health department would allow. The building had originally been proposed over on the west side of the property, and it would have been outside of the 200-foot buffer. The Rural Tourism District requires a 200-foot buffer area along the entire perimeter, and this is intended to protect the neighboring properties, especially if the use is something high intensity. There are some of the uses that have been proposed were rural conference centers, which are going to have hotels and bars and could be quite noisy. And so there's a 200 buffer foot requirement. However, after they began designing and looking into it more, a little further, they discovered that the building should be on the southern side to allow them the most distance for the driving range as possible without interfering with other activities on the golf course. And so they're proposing to put it down on the southern part of the property by the walkway, which is about 50 feet from the southern property line, which is inside that 200-foot buffer. And so this shows the general location of that 200-foot buffer. It would take up a large area of the property. The golf clubhouse and the golfing facilities, those are considered low impact and they're allowed within that buffer area. It's just with the addition of that restaurant snack bar would be a little bit more intense. And that's not something that would normally be permitted in the buffer area. However, the applicant has requested that the county commission waive the required buffer from the south property line to allow the restaurant snack bar to be located in that location. The staff report goes through a review of the golden criteria, the golden factors. This map shows the zoning of the surrounding areas. It's all zoned Ag 1 for agricultural. And if you look to the south of the property, there's floodway. So development is not possible in the floodway. So actually the floodway itself acts as a buffer between the golf course and anything that would be developed to the south. And the land uses in the surrounding area, as you can see, are primarily all crop agriculture. Residences in the area are limited. So there should be no impact to neighboring properties if this buffer area is waived, the buffer requirement. The Planning Commission voted unanimously on September 22nd of this year to recommend approval of the rezoning request from Ag 1 to Rural Tourism Business District with the waiver from the buffer yard requirement to allow the restaurant and snack bar and enclosed tee boxes to be located within that 200-foot buffer area along the south side of the property, based on the findings noted in the staff report. I believe the applicant is here today, and I'll be happy also to answer questions if you have any for me.
This is Commissioner Portillo. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that presentation. Do we have questions from commissioners? We will open this up to public comment. Do we have anyone online for comment?
Jeff, I'm going to move you into the panel. You can go ahead and unmute, Jeff.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Jeff Bury. I represent Twin Oaks Golf. Our address is 1326 East 1900 Road, Eudora, 66025. I am the originator of Twin Oaks Golf 30 years ago. And I want to first of all apologize for not being present. I didn't realize you would be there. So I would be there otherwise, but it is great to be on Zoom with you. First, I'd like to thank some people for this helping us through this process. The Planning Commission and in particular, Mary on staff. I can't thank you enough for walking us through this process. So you and the staff were really helpful. Thank you for the commissioners, the three of you, for hearing this. We're a facility that consists of, as Mary said, approximately 22 plus acres, 9-hole par 3 practice pitching putt, and a 6-hole Wheelings miniature golf course. We are very, very active in the community. We do things with many, many things with junior golf and families. First Tee is gigantic at our place. We do University of Kansas golf accredited golf classes. We have high school golf teams, some 7 or 8 of them that use our facility. We are zoned at the current time, Ag 1, conditional use, and this rural tourism will allow us to potentially expand and create another revenue source. Because quite frankly, I am hanging on by my fingernails. And without more revenue, with costs going up, I don't think we can continue to be open. We'll be closing November 1st for the winter and doing a lot of planning and I guess they like to use the word ciphering and figuring out what's going to happen for next spring and beyond. But this change in zoning is critical to our future. And I think as far as the community goes, they were pretty vocal with the Planning Commission when the vote was deferred back in May. But I'm just hoping that I can answer any questions you might have and we can move forward, hopefully. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you considering this request to rezone. Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
This is Commissioner Portillo. Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate the kind words about the planners and the Planning Commission and that you are thinking creatively about this next step for your business. I will bring this back to commissioners for deliberation.
This is Commissioner Reed. Thank you, Jeff, for that and for joining us. I just want to make a couple of comments to mostly just amplify my gratitude for the staff in really helping troubleshoot kind of a unique situation, I think, and figure out some options after that deferment in the Planning Commission. So I just really appreciate the diligence of that. And as Jeff mentioned, the Planning Commission had some great community support come out in comments, and I personally heard from a number of people in the community and who live in my district in particular and utilize that place. And so you have a lot of support, Jeff, in the community, and I'm hopeful that this will open a door for you to really create a next season of your business so that it stays a staple in this community. I grew up going there for gym classes and learning how to drive a golf ball and have fun games of putt-putt afterwards. So I have a lot of fond memories there myself. And I'm hopeful that you have a good season of planning for what's ahead and that all of the community support that has been really vocal and some of the comments I heard about the junior league and some movement that they've got in terms of organizing events in this community that I'm excited to see what happens out there. So thanks for your patience with the process. And thank you again, Mary, for all your guidance and help. I will, let me make sure I get the language right. Move to approve the rezoning Z-21-00242, approximately 22 acres from Ag 1 to Rural Tourism Business District located at 1326 East 1900 Road, based on the findings presented in the staff report. And I move to adopt the rezoning resolution.
Second.
All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. We will move on to appointments. I believe we do have an appointment for the Food Policy Council to consider this evening.
Yes, Commissioners, I forwarded a appointment suggested by the Food Policy Council to you. It is not an ag producer, but a
I have it here, Sarah. Do you
okay,
want me to-
yeah, thank you.
So the recommendation is for Caitlin Stanley, who's a local food programs director at Kansas Rural Center, and they are recommending to appoint her as the Sustainable Agriculture Organization Liaison to the Food Policy Council. I'll make that motion to approve Caitlin's appointment.
Second.
All of those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I don't believe we have any further appointments to consider. Okay, we will move on to miscellaneous. What do you have for us, Sarah?
You've got my memo in the packet. There's a lot of great stuff in it. I want to add that I've added the upcoming listening session, community listening session on moving from a 3 to 5 member commission. And I'm going to try to keep this on this weekly memo until we hit December, so that hopefully we can really get the word out that folks, or if they're interested, can attend this. In addition to that, I wanted to let you know that I included a flyer that we received from the Haskell Indian Nations University Hiawatha Center for upcoming forums that they're having related to justice concerns with Native Indigenous communities. So that's in your packet as well. And then I wanted to add, commissioners, in the packet is a proposal that I received from a group of local attorneys under the title Douglas County Defense Services for institutional defense for misdemeanor indigent cases. As the commission knows, there's been a work group that's been formed to study those issues after the March work session that we had. And the commissioners, I'm anticipating that report will be done. We meet next week. I have the draft report. I'm working on it to get to that group. I hope that group approves the report at that next meeting, and then I would be able to facilitate getting that to the commission after that point. I think then the commission could decide, do you want a presentation on it, or it's gonna be pretty brief, or do you just want to read it? We can discuss how that goes. I know you're gonna want that report before there's any sort of discussion about what do we do with the proposals we have in front of us and what our next steps are. So what I'd ask your permission is to, within the next week or two, get the commissioners an agenda item that outlines some various options that the commission consider for reviewing the proposals that we have and deciding next steps, knowing that timeline that we have. So I would anticipate that I don't think I can get it to you next week, but a week or so after that, I could get you some of those options, and then we can lay out a timeline. So I just wanted to share that with you tonight, and so that everyone was aware that we had it and some initial thoughts about how we might move forward. And if you have questions on that, I'd be glad to talk about it at this point. But if not, my last item on the memo was we do not have a work session next week. And then our next work session will be on November 3rd, which will be a discussion with our economic development partners. And that's all I have, commissioners.
This is Commissioner Portillo. Thank you, Sarah. I am very excited about that listening session, about going from 3 to 5 commissioners. I know I, in particular, got a lot of public feedback after our last discussion about that. So I'm glad that we will get some more public feedback on December 9th. So I do encourage folks to join us for that discussion so we can consider next steps. Sarah, I also do really appreciate the thoughtfulness behind how do we handle this new proposal. As you mentioned, the Indigent Defense Work Group is meeting next week, so I'm very hopeful that we can get more information to the commission, and any way that we move forward with this, we consider all of the information in front of us and are able to have a discussion about it. So thank you for laying out a process. Any other miscellaneous from commissioners?
So I do want to thank our emergency management team. I attended the community emergency response team training this weekend. Commissioners, I'd highly recommend. They're going to do another one around in the spring, around April, I believe. It is a long time commitment, I will tell you that, but I think seeing what volunteers can do to help us in emergency management, and not only when we have a crisis, but also in preparedness for it, it's really fantastic. And it gives me, having been through more natural disasters and a pandemic, I never would have anticipated when I started as a commissioner that I would know as much about emergency management as I now do. I can see the true benefit for having a volunteer team out there who's trained and knows what to do, knows maybe what not to do, what they don't have the training to do, and where to rely on the professional responders. It just really felt good all weekend. And I want to thank especially Kate Deneen and Josh Taylor and that whole emergency management team for their prep of that work and inviting me to attend. And really appreciate all the community volunteers who came out to not only have the training, but also provide the training, because it is provided by those volunteers. So it was pretty cool. So just wanted to share that.
This is Commissioner Portillo again. I will just say we haven't all been together since the Wells Overlook ribbon cutting. And I just want to say a big thank you to Carrie for putting all of that together and publicizing it. There were more people than I was expecting at that event, which was a really nice surprise. The weather was perfect. The student presentations were great to hear about their experiences. And I'm really thankful to Chad and our entire Public Works team for partnering with KU on that, because it is a really beautiful addition to our community. So it was a nice event. That is all I have. I saw some.
Glad you reminded me about Thursday. I did go out to the at the fairgrounds with O'Malley Beverage for the first responders. Just a real thanks to O'Malley Beverage. That was a really nice thing for them to do. And I know all those first responders and volunteers really appreciated it.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.